Welcome to the Building PA Podcast, the voice of the construction industry throughout Pennsylvania. Here are your co-hosts, Chris Martin and John O'Brien.
Hello and welcome to the Building PA Podcast. I am co-host John O'Brien from the Keystone Contractors Association, coming to you from good old central Pennsylvania, right outside of Harrisburg in the great little town of Dillsburg. Always great to be on the podcast, on your station. Great to have our listeners with us, and even more fantastic to be joined by co-host Chris Martin. Chris, what's going on today?
Hey, John, thank you for that. Again, you always make me feel so happy and welcome when you introduce me. And I, unfortunately, am not in Dillsburg. I am in the lovely village of Sewickley. We don't have anything to claim to fame to call it like the pickle or anything like that around the holidays, but hey, it is what it is. Light up night's coming soon. But yes. Hey, everyone, I am Chris Martin, and I'm with Atlas Marketing, and we tell stories for companies that build things, and you can check us out at atlasstories.com. But today we are talking excavation and safety, right, John?
Absolutely. You know we love safety on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Whether it's elevated safety or, enclosed space safety or vehicle safety, whatever safety we're talking about. But today we're talking about subsurface safety. And who better than Ryan Parrish from the One Call to join us and talk about some good old excavation safety. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah. Glad you're here.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. But before we talked about the topic at hand, who is Ryan? Who's this superstar that our audience is about to hear from? Who is this guy?
So I'm one of 12 liaisons with Pennsylvania 811. So like I said, I'm the liaison. So I'm the middleman between the underground utility, the designer, engineer, and the One Call Center. So I field a lot of the complaints and issues and do a lot of the training and education for the eastern side of Pennsylvania. Like I said, there's 12 of us. So I cover a certain amount of counties, only 4 of them in the state: Berks, Lehigh, Northampton, and Schuylkill. So those are my main counties I do education awareness for.
Nice. And I would imagine, obviously around education awareness and what you do, it is a lot of, call before you dig and things that everybody in the industry knows about. But what are some other things that you do around education awareness?
Yeah, so one of our main things we do around education is our PA1 Call Safety Days. We'll have about 400, 500 municipal people, engineers, excavators, and they come out from all over the counties. So like I said, we have 5 of them across the state. Our first one's actually May 15th in Cranberry. So we're going to have, like I said, it's a big expo. We're going to have engineers coming out talking about their obligations, excavators talking about their obligations. One Call is going to be doing sessions. So it's a big, fun training day. So that's one of our main ways to get out there, do some outreach.
And Chris, it is fun. There's along with Cranberry, they go to York and I believe State College area. There's
State College, Allentown. We're doing 5 this year. So Cranberry, Oaks, York, Allentown, and State College for 2025. Yep.
Cool. Hey, Ryan, if you wouldn't mind sharing those dates with us, we'll put it on the podcast and help promote it that way as well.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Just to say that. Yeah. So our listeners will at least have a place they can go to Building PA Podcast and look at those.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. And through the KCA News, we have a outlet that way as well, and we've been promoting this for the past so many years. So we make sure our members know about it. So it's good stuff. So what's the big trend in excavation safety these days? What's the big hot topic?
So the hot topic right now, I would say probably design.
Okay.
I joke around with people, say designs the instructions for these excavators for them to get their work done. So you want to go to IKEA, get a piece of IKEA furniture without instructions. That'll take you forever to install whatever you're trying to do. Yeah. So we make sure these designers are doing a proper design before they give it to the excavators. So these excavators know what they're going to excavate around and what they can't excavate around to keep everyone safe. So I would say design and project owner obligations is probably what we're really touching on right now at One Call.
Yeah. from the owner perspective, what are some things that, they need to know about, whether, underground
Hmm.
issues or, infrastructure issues and those type of things? From an owner perspective, what can
Yeah,
you share with them?
yeah. For a project owner's perspective, they need to understand eventually if there's something wrong with a design plan and they give it to an excavator, we're telling these excavators to stop digging. Don't dig around a design plan that doesn't make any sense. And sometimes these project owners are the ones that's hiring these designers, and these designers are having paper records from the 1970s that they're trying to design around. So sometimes they need to go back to the project owner and say, hey, I got to get a big vac truck out here to kind of expose where these utilities are before I design it, because I don't want to give a bad design plan to an excavator and then him hit a utility line in the ground, and now we're going back and forth with lawyers trying to figure out who's at fault. So these project owners need to be aware, say, hey, if these designers can't figure out where these utilities are, they're not going to design around it. That's what we're telling them not to do. They're going to come back to you and say, hey, I need more funding so I can figure out exactly where these utilities are before I kick my project over to the excavator.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And a quick follow-up to that. Are
Yeah.
there, I mean, obviously there are, legal issues or laws on the books that say that has to happen, right? Like, what, again, just thinking from an owner's perspective, what do they need to know about from a regulation standpoint or even legislative standpoint?
Mhm. So if they own any underground utility that's serving anybody other than themselves, so if they have a propane tank in their own backyard and it's only serving their underground heated pool or something like that, they're not going to be required to be a member of PA1 call. But if that propane tank's heating your pool, your neighbor's pool, somebody across the street, it's heating a business that's maybe 500 feet down the road, because you're serving somebody else, you're going to be required to be a PA1 call member. And you have to figure out exactly where these underground utilities are so you can put it into our one call system. So if anybody's going to be excavating, they're going to get that notice like, hey, there could be an excavation going on around where my underground utilities are. I need to go out and locate them so I can protect my assets and they're not getting damaged by the utility or the excavator.
Hmm. And then Chris mentioned legislation, and are you involved in your role as far as legislation?
I am not. I know there is just a
Okay.
law change that
Yep.
happened. So
Yeah.
we're still going through the law change as liaisons before we go out and tell everybody of the exact changes. But the law change did happen. So we're currently, as liaisons, going through it right now. So I'm sure in probably a couple of weeks or so, we're going to have a big push out to all of our members going over the one call law, offering training to let them
Yep.
know the changes that happened. So
Yeah, we're at
stand
that.
by for that.
Yeah, we're at that process too, educating our construction company members about the changes. And
Yep.
yeah, we have a good partnership with PUCA, Pennsylvania Utility Contractors Association, and they always tend to work with you guys and other groups, to kind of work on legislation and policy issues, and we kind
Yep.
of follow their lead. So you guys and PUCA work good together, and we're the benefactors of that awesome relationship. So
Like I said, we try to communicate with everybody. We have board members. Those board members actually govern our PA1 call law, so they make sure we're on top of everything, and everybody always gets their fair shake of the law.
yep, absolutely. Yeah. So any other trends out there, whether it be safety related, education, owner related, and anything keeping you awake at night, anything at all? What do you got?
Probably mainly for the excavators getting out to that job site. I want these excavators to really not rush through these projects. Go to that job site before they even start. Take notice of anything that's wrong. If they notice something's wrong, re-notify 811 so we can get those utilities out to remark if they need remarking, or just to come out and have that general discussion of that job site. It's happening far too often. People are going to the job site. They know something's wrong, but they have maybe a strict timeline. They're afraid
Yeah.
to go back to the project owner and say, hey, I need more time, more funding because there's something wrong. And they're just rushing through jobs and they're damaging stuff. Even in my neighborhood right now, my water line just got struck because they're cross boring and they didn't do a proper PA1 call. And I'm going out, it's across from my house. So I'm going out there like, guys, Come on, this could have been avoided if you guys did the right process. Now you know where my house is, so knock on my door if you have any
Okay.
PA1 call questions, and I can help you guys out. Well,
There you go. Nice. Yeah, that
Yeah.
speed to market is
yeah,
it hurts the industry from everything from excavating to just general safety. Just to rush to get stuff done is just a big issue that we all battle with and grapple with.
yeah. Pennsylvania's getting a lot of that federal money too to get a lot of the fiber and those
Yep.
underground communications lines going. So that's putting a rush on work. So everybody wants something done. So we have these we actually have Coordinate PA. It's one of our main applications. It's allowing everybody to get their project in there. And hopefully they can coordinate and collaborate together. You have one large project instead of somebody restoring and finishing up that project, spending all this time paving a road. A month later, somebody comes up and just rips open that same road that they spent all the money paving and restoring. If everybody had their projects in our application, Coordinate PA, they can talk with these project owners and say, hey, since I have this road open for the next month or so, won't you get in here and do whatever you need to do? And now we can split the cost on restoring the road rather than me just forking up the full cost to restore the road. And then a month later, you guys just dig it up again. So we have applications to try to make the communications successful for people.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of that. And so, like, I mean, I'm on the kind of the periphery of the industry, but still involved in it. But could you talk a little bit more about that Coordinate PA?
Yeah, so like I was mentioning, we had a lot of issues with people doing projects. They have a road open, they pave the road, and a month later somebody just comes in. So in Pittsburgh, our main office, they had these Pittsburgh Connect meetings where everybody was discussing jobs, upcoming jobs, future jobs, and kind of everybody that came to these meetings, all our stakeholders were at these meetings. They all wanted something similar that cost money. They wanted a way to communicate between the designer, the excavator, the facility owner, kind of in a one-stop shop. And we had applications like that online, but it costs a lot of money to do that. So our president, Bill Kiger, said, I can come up with an application that's cost-free, Coordinate PA, so one-stop shop. Designers can do the design information. Project owners can get in there and create the whole footprint of the project, kick it over to the designer. Designer does his design information in Coordinate PA. Now the whole project's in Coordinate PA. You can kick it over to the excavator still within the project, so the excavator can just put his excavation tickets within that same project. So the problem is people have these large projects, and like I said, there's a lot of fiber work being installed. Everybody wants something done. There's only a certain amount of locators out there for the amount of work being done. So Coordinate PA will actually prompt you to create this large complex project meeting. And this is when you have a meeting with all those facility owners and you would discuss a locate schedule. Hey, can you locate this for me within the time frame that I needed? Can you locate 3,000 feet, 4,000 feet? But that's all done through Coordinate PA. It's just a one-stop shop to get your whole project done, rather than just calling 811 and getting a small under 1,000-foot project located. So it's mainly for these large projects.
Yeah, but that sounds really logical. I mean, like you said, if somebody's got the road open, why not get if it can stay open for another week or so, why not add in some more work and do things more efficiently? Again, I'd not heard of that, so I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's it. We always have webinars, a bunch of training on that. So we want everybody to use Coordinate PA. It's where PA1 Call is heading. Everything's going to eventually go into Coordinate PA. So I always tell people to learn it now. Ask me, I'll teach you. Like I said, it's a one-stop shop. It's better than trying to meet with designers and everybody individually.
Is that a requirement of like certain like you said 1,000 feet or something like that? Is that a requirement to use that on those bigger projects? Yeah.
So any job that's over 1,000 feet is a requirement to be a complex project. Yeah. So and all complex projects has to be entered in the Coordinate PA. So if you're a large company and you're doing these underground excavation projects that are larger than 1,000 feet and you're not in Coordinate PA, you probably should be. So you guys don't want to get fined or do anything wrong. So we do have an enforcement, the Public Utilities Commission, to do enforce the PA1 call law. So Coordinate PA is just going to make sure you're compliant with the PA1 call law because you can do your design notifications. It shoots it out to the facility owners. Facility owners can respond, and the excavators can see that response list through Coordinate PA and get everything in a one-stop shop. It's just a
Yeah.
great tool.
It's cool.
And coordinate PA, if I remember right, because it's been a while since I've heard it was introduced. But there's like a forced collaboration, not a forced, but there's a collaboration meeting, so you get all project stakeholders involved and on the same page. And
Yep, that's the complex project meeting. Yep.
complex. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, which is highly recommended for any project. Really, you could have a complex project meeting for it, but the law says anything over 1,000 feet, you should have a complex project.
Okay. Nice.
Are there any other regulations like that? Again, just to try to help you
Yeah.
educate people and get that out there. Are there other like 1,000-foot, maybe 500-foot requirements and those type of things?
So after you guys do a preliminary design that is outside of 90 days, that just gets the ball rolling. So if you're going to get bad paper records from a facility owner, it's better to know that information ahead of time. Once your project gets closer to 10 to 90 days within that time frame, then you want to do a final design just to get, hey, facility owners, what utilities do we have where my excavation is planning to happen? Do that final design, those records get sent to you. Now you're looking at the paper records as a designer, you're going to the job site and everything looks good to go. And then that's when you want to give it to the excavator. Well, if something looks wrong when you're at that job site, that's when you're probably going to have to go back to that project owner and say, hey, I need more funding so I can figure out where these utilities are before I plan it and give it over to the excavator, because I don't want him to damage anything. So
Nice.
any drawing with your project should have a final design associated with it 10 to 90 business days.
Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, we get the one call training days out. We send that out to members, and every so often we hear feedback like, oh, I never knew they offered this, this free all day training. Is there any other sort of services or educational opportunities that you guys offer that perhaps goes under the radar that people don't know that you offer? And
yeah, absolutely. So like I said, there's 12 liaisons across the state, and we're required to hold educational programs. So we'll have a locator program. So anybody that needs DEP credits, we do one of those in the fall, and we would do one of those in the spring. So we're coming up on the spring now. So we already have those scheduled on our website. You can just check it out. And we have an excavator program also in the fall and the spring, and we do a designer training in the fall and the spring also. So every liaison's doing that. So like I said, no matter where you are in the county of Pennsylvania, there is somebody that's going to be able to provide those programs for you.
it's good to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we also have webinars constantly online. Like I said, I'll do a webinar about excavation safety, design safety, all that good stuff too.
Okay. Do
Nice.
you change to help like a contractor? I know you got like the general training and you offer all the general courses, but if someone comes to you, an excavator comes to you with, I have this issue or that issue, do you guys create training just for them at all by chance, or work with
If
them?
they need anything, we'll go in office and provide any training. I know for the past couple of weeks, I've been going to the same township and helping him actually put in complex project tickets and actually how to use coordinate PA. So if you're in my county, if you ever need help, any of the liaisons are the same way. If you ever need help for any of the liaisons, we're all reading off the same playbook. We'll come to you, come in office. We'll go on the side of the road. We'll walk off my laptop, off the bed of your truck. It doesn't matter. We'll come to you to get your training.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's what I love to hear.
Yeah, that's customer service, man.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh man. Ryan, are there any other items that you and your colleagues run into that you're just like you banging your head against the wall? Like, why are we doing, how else can we help get the word out? Because as John said at the beginning here, we're big fans of safety, and especially when it comes to things that we don't see. How can we help get that message out there?
It's just general. People just need to call. I feel like people are afraid to call. If you're an excavating company, it's only $125 per calendar year, and you can call unlimited. If you're a homeowner on your property, it's free to use for homeowners. So there's no excuse for a homeowner not to call 811 if you're installing a mailbox or using powered equipment for your garden or something like that. Like, they're still required to call. Banging my head. People don't re-notify when there's something wrong. If they see they just rush through these projects and they're damaging these utilities,
Yeah.
they can re-notify. As soon as the excavator gets to that job site and they notice something's wrong, as early as possible, just re-notify. That starts the window for you guys to, so they can actually dig if they need to. They re-notify. If nobody gets back to them within 2 hours, by that third hour, they are legally allowed to dig. Just because they're allowed to dig doesn't mean they should, because there's no markings on the ground. But if they're re-notified by that third hour, nobody responds to them, they are allowed to dig, but they're supposed to use prudent techniques and maybe expose exactly where these utilities are. Because utility owners, they're not always 100% accurate. They put the lines on the ground. We need these excavators to expose and verify where they are before they start digging into the ground and they hit a gas line or something like that.
Yeah. And Chris, just so you know, when you call, no matter what day of the week or whatever, they will answer. So a couple years ago, I was installing some French drains at my house. Went to the local rental place, got a trencher. And at the same time, this is pre-COVID, so this is like 2019 or so. There was legislation moving, and it was like a Saturday, Sunday afternoon or whatever. And Brenda Regal called me, the executive director of NUCA Utility Contractors, and we're talking about legislation. And she's like, "Sorry to bother you on the weekend." I'm like, "That's all right. I just needed a break. I'm getting ready to put some French drains in." And she's like, "You did call 811, right?" And I'm like, "No, I probably should though, since I tell everyone to do it, you know." So I called, and I think it was like a Saturday afternoon, and the guy showed up like a half hour later, and he marked my lines and everything. He said, "Yeah, you're good to go." So you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome.
She's also a good friend of mine.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing here is this is like Pennsylvania's best kept secret. And,
It is.
We just need to promote it more and more so that people are knowledgeable, because I didn't realize as a homeowner, I needed to call. Thankfully, I haven't had any issues, but to that point, like just getting it out to the general population as well as the industry is going to be key. So maybe that's some things that we can do in the future. So that's great. Yeah.
And if you need French drains, Chris, give me a call. I'll work
Hey,
on it.
you are the first person I'm calling, my
You
man.
too, Ryan. I can work for you too. Don't worry. I can go East River guys. Thank you.
I'll keep you in mind.
All right.
Well, Ryan, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a really good conversation. I learned a couple things, which is always good. But again, Ryan Parrish with Pennsylvania One Call. Thank you for joining us, and I'm pretty sure we'll be talking again.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Keep up the great work.
Thanks.
Hey, before you go, don't forget to visit buildingpapodcast.com. On the site, we have past episodes and industry articles that highlight various issues. We have over 200 episodes online, which means this is a great resource for you and your company. You can also share your thoughts on future topics via the website. So don't forget to visit buildingpapodcast.com.
Thank you for joining the Building PA podcast. To stay up to date, follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and visit buildingpapodcast.com to subscribe to upcoming shows. Thanks for listening.